Very interesting PoE 1 news with the Arakali. I mean, literally have a human form Arakali tattoo right there. So it's like, yeah, we'll play with that. It's gonna be fun to cook up a build with it. Question again is crit versus poison. I don't know yet. We'll see. However, I wanted to check out the state of early access update. My biggest concern here is what I believe to be true. It is because I haven't been spammed about dates, which leads me to believe that we actually have no information as to when still, which is the only question I want answered right now. And since people haven't spammed me about when this is released, I'm assuming that this is going to be an update post and not include when. But let's read through it and see what they have to say. We are now 10 weeks into early access. It's been 2.5 months already. What a wild ride it has been. That is one way of putting it. This has been our largest launch ever, and it certainly broke through our expectations, which is pretty cool, actually. We're well into PathofExile 2's first launch now, so it's time to take a look at what we've done so far, what remains to solve, and what we're going to be doing next. Since launch, we released 8 patches and 31 hotfixes, each containing various improvement, bug fixes, and, of course, incremental improvements to the sound, artifacts, and environments. The changes we've been making fall into few categories: quality of life features. Since the launch, there have been many things that players have found annoying or time-consuming, so we've been trying to address them one by one. 2 of the big ones are the ability to teleport around the map with checkpoints and overwrite items in sockets, but there are a lot of smaller ones as well. We've also been making quality of life improvement, balance changes like reducing the cost of respecking, making dodge roll get you stuck less often, and making reviving easier in multiplayer. And improving the core experience. Are they just mapping out what the changes they've done instead of telling us what they're going to do? Improving the core experience of mapping. The endgame is one of the hardest areas to test in an online game. It takes quite a lot of play to get to the point where we can form an opinion on what is good and what is bad. So having such a large number of players get to the endgame has been incredibly valuable. To start with, we improved the rewards of endgame substantially by buffing drops from rare monsters and decrease the difficulty at the start of endgame. We also added a lot of balance adjustments to make within the individual maps. We did a full rebalance of all the content that can spawn in maps, mostly more of everything. One of the key realizations since launch was how important it is to have more variety in tower maps, so we made it a priority and patched in 4 more, as well as a better variation of the existing tower maps that we had. And we realized that we had a way undershot the number of bosses in endgame, so we increased that a lot too. And added a new tablet to allow for adding more of them. This was a good change, actually. We also added respawning to the endgame pinnacles, checkpoints for traveling in maps, improved strong boxes, and made it a lot easier to find citadels. There's still a lot more to do, improve to the endgame, though. Yes, I think we can all agree on that. Itemization improvements. Existing unique items got a lot of improvements. We buffed a very large number of them to make them much more exciting to find for low-level characters. But we do have a need for a lot more build-defining uniques going forward. They did do a rework on a lot of uniques, and I don't feel like the rework made any of the uniques that they reworked any more interesting or attractive personally, but maybe I'm out of touch here. Fixing bad balance outliers. One of the hardest things about the game design is that it only takes a mistake in a single number to make a player have a horrible experience. We made a ton of changes to monsters and bosses to fix one-shots, improved telegraphing, buffed minimum item drops, to name a few. We also addressed a lot of difficulty problems in both the Trial of Chaos and Trial of Sekimas. One of the player side of things, we did a big pass to improve the balance of many skills, but there is a lot more to come. We did attempt to address some of the more overpowered player skills, but backed off somewhat in order to prevent breaking people's characters. We initially thought that there would be more tolerance for this kind of thing during early access, but we were incorrect. We will save changes like this for larger balance updates. We're still nerfing things if they are totally egregious, though. I'm guessing this is what's referring to like the current state of the Giga meta. Fixing crashes and performance issues. Crashes have been a major area of focus for the development team since launch. We've fixed hundreds of different crashes, but there are still more to find. On the server side of things, we've reduced the number of crashes significantly. They should be very rare. Client side of things have been a lot harder to deal with for the most part. Crashes in gameplay code have been addressed, but there are some much harder engine crashes that we have yet to find. The worst of these is a full system freeze that has occurred since Windows 11's 24H2 update. Still don't know exactly what caused this problem. We have deployed a workaround that seems to be preventing the freeze. We're working with Microsoft to find a better long-term solution. The remaining crashes, what's really interesting with this, in my opinion, is like, I understand the game was supposed to be launched, or the early access supposed to be launched in June. It got delayed to November, then it got delayed again till December, and it was tested on the previous version. And we know that Windows are basically throwing out a big update once a year, which usually happens around December. So it's just really poorly timed, and unfortunate that it happened this way. For anyone who updated their rigs to the new update, had potential issues with this. The remaining crashes are happening inside the GPU, driving known as device removed errors. We've added a command line switch X crash report, which adds extra logging to help us debug this issue at the cost of a small amount of performance. Once you have crashed a couple of times with this option enabled, you can disable it again. We will have enough reports. We are working with NVIDIA to try and come up with a fix for this issue. Switching to Vulkan seems to reduce the number of crashes significantly for some users. So we would suggest trying that if you're crashing often. The biggest problems, please, they gotta mention that we need a time frame, right? So what are the biggest problems that we see in Path of Exile 2 right now? Well, other than the crashes, they're the biggest issues we think we can't solve without major updates. Major balance issues with many player skills and builds, both too high and too low. Not enough character build options, including build-defining uniques. Endgame progression balance is off. Not enough cool things to find in Endgame. I think they should have added another line here saying that we don't know when things are happening. But that's just my personal take. And I think a lot of people would agree. And so these are the things that we expect to improve in 0.0, 0.2.0. In addition, we need to make sure that the 0.2 has a draw card that will bring back as many players as possible to test the changes that we're making. We don't have an exact timeline for 0.2, but overall plan has been to release a major content updates. The plan has been to release major content updates for Path of Exile 2 every few months. We will announce it as soon as we can. How many are a few? How many? A few is generally considered to mean between 2 and several. Two is a couple. Yes, a few. If they would have said a couple every couple months, but if they say few, it's between 2 and several. So few should then be referred to as 3 or more. Which is quite interesting because they've been aiming for it to have a early access to last 6+ months, right? But it looks more like we're gonna have early access for the remaining time of this year. Maybe we'll see something at the end of the year or maybe early next year. That's kind of like what I'm seeing right now. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how much. Because here's the thing, right? When they finally do release this 0.2 patch, we're going to be in a position where the longer it takes for 0.2 to arrive, the higher the bar gets and the higher the expectations are. And that's inevitable. They're not going to get away from that. I'm in that boat as well. I'm like, yo, the longer it takes them to get the 0.2 patch out, the more I'm expecting out of it. Initially, I was like, maybe we get 1 act. Maybe we get all of them if we're lucky, but maybe we get 1 new act and maybe 1 or 2 classes. That was my opinion last month. Now, we're in February. We're 2.5 months in on the launch. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm kind of expecting us to get all of the remaining acts. I'm expecting us to get that third ascendancy, and I'm expecting us to get at least 2 or 3 classes. And then some, on top of the balance changes. And if it's going to wait, if we don't see anything till March, well, guess what? I'm going to be expecting a lot more then. So I don't know what their plan is. I understand that at the same time, they don't want to do what a lot of people have been saying that they want. They want the early access to be patched every week, every second week or something. Give us something new. give us some balance changes on a more consistent, ongoing cycle. But you have to keep in mind that this is a massive project, and the longer it takes between the updates, the more players are going to move on to play something else, right? So there's that aspect of it. And how do they then make those players or new players or come back in a wave? And the reason it is important that they come back in a large wave is because if the game gets a stupid amount of content and a stupid amount of new things, that will not just create a tsunami of players coming back to play, test the new stuff out. That will directly also impact content creation around it, which will give them free marketing for it. And suddenly, the big introduction of new content will create a very high ROI compared to them patching something smaller every 1 or every 2 weeks, right? So, I mean, from a business perspective, it is smart for them to delay and wait for a major release. The problem is that it's been taking a very, 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 very long time. And I think a lot of people are frustrated as a result of that taking a very, very, very long time. I know. I'm still in the category where I'm still enjoying Path of Exile 2 at the moment. I'm still having fun with it. I've started doing a Hardcore Soul self-fun adventure, and that's been fun for me to engage with. I do have a little smaller project I want to do in Trade League, but I think that I'm in the same category as a lot of other players are, where we're kind of in this situation where it's dying off, right? We're losing interest in it because we're done with everything we want to do, or we don't have any other projects that we want to engage with, and therefore it's inevitably going to become this situation where we're no longer enjoying playing the game. I haven't reached that point yet, but I do see the end of that tunnel. So I really hope that they're gonna have some new content coming out soon, because at least for my personal opinion, because I'm running out of things to do. Anyways, I don't want to rant too much. Hope you guys enjoyed this little walkthrough of the information that we've seen. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and leave a comment down below what you think is the biggest issue with PoE 2 right now. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. So till then, stay safe and keep rocking.